Welcome back to this Thursday edition of Focal Point on AFR Talk. I am Brian Fisher, congenial, convivial, and amiable. As always, the program is Focal Point, the home of muscular Christianity on conservative talk radio. Now, you know, speaking of the issue of same-sex marriage, you know that the dad in the Robertson family, Phil Robertson, the Duck Commander people, generated a huge amount of controversy back last fall in December when he defended a biblical view of marriage. And the left and gay activists, Big Gay, the gay Gestapo, tried to take him out. They tried to take the show off the air. They tried to run them out of business. And the American people, again, rose up as one and said, no, we stand with him. Cracker Barrel, you made a mistake. Put the Duck Commander stuff back on the shelves. We're not with you. We're going to stay home from your restaurants until you restore the Duck Commander materials and objects to your shelves. So the good guys won that showdown. The show went back on the air. Now here's Willie Robertson and his wife Corey. This is clip number 1. Willie Robertson and his wife Corey on CNN, and the CNN lady, she is really trying to press in on Willie Robertson and the Robertson clan and their position on homosexuality and marriage. Here's how it went.
You said you wanted to clear the air about Daddy Phil. Mm-hmm. Go for it.
Oh, my father, he made Christmas very interesting for us. I remember doing that interview, and this guy, I think he already had what he wanted to put, and he was certainly, asking specifically this and that, and Phil just said what he thought, what was on his heart, and, he didn't say it quite, he did some paraphrasing there.
Well, let's lay it out. He paraphrased 1 Corinthians, right, where it talks about homosexuals, male prostitutes, drunkards,
thieves.
Thieves. Yeah. That they're all the same. Is that what you believe?
That's what 1 Corinthians says. And he
what does Willie say?
I believe what the Bible says, and so that's what he says, to put those in. Now, you have to read the Bible and make up your own mind. You have to decide, and God will ultimately decide that. And we don't profess to be God, and we certainly don't profess to be perfect at all, because we have our own sins that we deal with.
Anybody who knows him, any gay, straight, black, white, anybody who knows Phil knows that he is about love, and his message is about God's love and God's grace and God's forgiveness, ultimately.
And for him and for you, the Bible is literal. That's how it is, right?
That's how it said, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it says we believe the Bible. That's what it says in the Bible. We believe what's in the Bible. So Willie Robertson, CNN, and again, you gotta love this. Because here's a guy that is in the public eye. And remember, this is a guy that's got as much to lose as Dan Cathy has. In fact, in some ways, he may have more to lose. I mean, I don't know how secure their finances are compared to Dan Cathy's. I think they're both in really good shape. But he's got a lot to lose. And he easily could have taken the path of least resistance like Dan Cathy did, and surrendered to the world and the standards of the world on this, and he didn't. He just stands tall and stands strong and says, look, that's what the Bible says, and that's where we come down. Now, contrast this with clip number 2. This is Joe Biden talking to the Human Rights Campaign last week, and, ladies and gentlemen, if you want an illustration of the fact that we are in a culture war, and that this culture war over the issue of homosexuality is a battle between the forces of light and the forces of darkness, between the forces of good and the forces of evil, between the forces of morality and the forces of immorality, and you have any question about that, this soundbite will put your fears to rest. When you contrast the position that Willie Robertson has taken in public on CNN, we believe what the Bible says about homosexuality. We believe what the Bible says about marriage. If the Bible says it, that's good enough for us. That is our ultimate authority. Now listen to what Joe Biden thinks about a biblical standard on sexuality and marriage. Let's listen.
Think about it in basic terms, and I know you know it, but sometimes even you forget it. The single most basic of all human rights is the right to decide who you love. It's the single basic building block. It is. It's the single most important human right that exists. And hate can never be defended because it's a so-called cultural norm. I've had it up to here with cultural norms. I really mean it. A cultural norm that is sick is sick. It's simple. There's never a justification for a government or individual politician to play off the bigotry and hatred.
So that's Joe Biden saying the cultural norms that Willie Robertson and Corey talked about, they're sick. In fact, he says it twice. That's sick. It is nothing but bigotry. It's nothing but hatred. And he says, look, I have had it up to here with cultural norms. Now, you translate that, what Joe Biden, remember, this guy is the vice president of the United States. He's saying, I, as the vice president of the United States, I have had it up to here with the Bible. I have had it up to here with the Bible's view of human sexuality. I have had it up to here with the Bible's view of what is sexually normal. I have had it up to here with the Bible's view of marriage. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is not an incidental thing. I don't want you to miss the significance of this. It's one thing if an actor says this. It's another thing if a journalist says this. But when you have a politician who sits next to the most powerful political figure in the world, a man who has shown his willingness time and time again to unilaterally enforce laws of his own making and refuse to enforce other laws, then it's dangerous. This is an exceedingly dangerous thing. He's had it up to here with you. He's had it up to here with me. So we are involved without question in a serious culture war. So we have to keep the armor on, full armor of God, according to Ephesians chapter 6, and be ready to fight the good fight, because we are involved in a culture war over these fundamental issues of sexuality, fundamental issues of marriage. Now, looking where to go, let's talk a little bit. Let's begin. We're going to have to extend this over into later parts of the program. We're going to talk to Matt Staver of Liberty Counsel here in about 5 minutes. But remember that we saw just this week that Kathleen Sibelius and the Obama administration is extending the deadline to sign up for Obamacare. The deadline fixed in law is March 31st. That's in the law. And I wanted to play, this is clip number 3. These are different representatives of the administration. You will hear from Kathleen Sibelius. You will hear from Dan Pfeiffer, who was the president's spokesman. You will hear from the head of Obamacare, the head of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. They're running the whole program. So you'll hear from 3 administrators who weigh in specifically on the topic of whether the deadline will be extended. And remember, Sibelius has done this. We're going to extend it. Who knows how long this will be extended? Because all you have to do is to say that you tried to get insurance before March 31st, that you got in line before the end of March. Now, they don't ask for any documentation. They don't ask for any proof. In fact, a week ago, we had this story where they said all you have to do is to say that you had some kind of a hardship. You couldn't afford it or whatever. You don't even have to have any documentation. Documentation if possible. And if you just declare you got a hardship, and this is an honor system, you say you were in the pipeline before March 31st, we are obligated to take your word for it, whether it is true or not. So listen to the administration saying, man, that deadline, March 31st, it is etched in stone. It is the law of the Medes and Persians. Let's listen.
Are you going to delay the open enrollment beyond March 31st?
No, sir.
Is it correct that you don't have the authority to extend that deadline? The position that the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid have made, do you agree with that?
I haven't seen their statement, sir, but there is no delay beyond March 31st.
Can you rule out the idea that the president doesn't delay the individual mandate? Yes, I can. You can. That will not happen. That will not happen.
We have no plans to extend the open enrollment period. Open enrollment ends on March 31st, and in fact, we don't actually have the statutory authority to extend the open enrollment period in 2014.
Okay, so no statutory authority. We couldn't do it even if we wanted to. Drop down to clip 7, Rob, if you would. And this is Kathleen Sibelius. And again, this is what they do with language. This is clearly an extension. And they say we've got no statutory authority to do it. So they're admitting that they are breaking the law when they do this. So they have to pretend this is something other than violating clear congressional law. Here's Kathleen Sibelius, reporter, asked her, look, this deadline, March 31st, you testified that you would not extend this March 31st deadline. So what happened? Is this an extension? Is this a delay? Is this another problem? Here's what she said.
It's none of the above. It's actually a very logical way to make sure people get through the system. What we did in December, we're doing again, which is to say if you're in line on March 31st at midnight, if you're trying to get through the system and the volume is higher than expected, we want to make sure you actually can complete the process and buy health insurance. Many, for the first time, affordable health care is available. So this is not an extension of open enrollment. It is just saying, like you do on election day, if you're in line to vote, we want to make sure you vote. These are people who want health insurance. They have an affordable option for the first time in their lives for many people who have never had affordable coverage in their workplace.
So she's saying, look, it's not an extension. It's none of the above. It's not a delay. It's not an extension. It's none of the above. As long as you're in the queue before March 31st, we're not going to close the polling station. If you show up before the polls close, we'll keep them open until you get a chance to vote. This is different. You don't have to show up anywhere. And all you have to do, I mean, it's be like going to the polling place. Say the election is on November 6th and you go to the polling place on November 20, 2 weeks later, and you say, hey, I want to vote. Well, so no, well, you can't because the election was on November 6th. Oh, no, you don't understand. I've been waiting in line for the last 2 weeks. I've been here all this time. Do you have any proof? Well, no, actually, I don't. Well, we're on the honor system. Here's a ballot. Go ahead and cast your vote. It's just that absurd. Focal Point AFR Talk. We'll be back with Matt Staver, Liberty Counsel, talk about Justina Pelletier. Stay with us. Focal Point AFR Talk.